Hey, thanks so much for tuning in to today's Drawing for Adults class. This class is offered as a partnership between the Ann Arbor District Library and the Ann Arbor Art Center, both located downtown Ann Arbor. Today we're going to be exploring adding depth to your artwork, and we will be using values and shading in order to do so. And so we're going to be creating a kind of an abstract piece here. So what I recommend doing is really watching me all the way through here just to see the project, see what I'll be doing, and then you can follow along. It's a little bit confusing, but what we're going to be doing is creating this design that almost reminds me of some kind of layered web-like design. So we're looking at creating about 3 or 4 different layers here, and the ones that are on the top are going to be a lot lighter, and then gradually we're going to see these layers get darker and darker. So it's a really unique design. It's a fun project. I think it's really one of those mindful making kind of projects where you can just kind of, sit in front of the TV or listen to a good audiobook or something, and you can do some shading and doodling and create a really fun, neat optical illusion type of design. So grab a pencil and a sheet of paper. I'll also be using an ink pen to do some doodling on each layer, but you do not have to do that. You can just keep it simple with a pencil and a sheet of paper. All right, so we're just gonna start by drawing in some organic shapes here to start. So you can see I'm just kind of keeping them fairly close together. I don't have too much empty space in between them. And then I'm gonna draw another layer underneath. So I'm kind of going behind those lines that I already drew so that I am creating, again, you can see the space that's in between those odd little organic shapes. Those are going to be the parts that I'm going to actually do the shading. So right now I'm taking that second layer that I did, and I am using my ink pen to do some little fun doodles. And mostly the reason I'm doing that right now, rather than waiting until I do all of my layers and then inking them all, I'm doing this so that it's a little bit easier to see them. The more that we add, the more confusing it's going to be, and they start all just kind of merging together and becoming one unit instead of separate layers. So that's why I'm going ahead now and creating this little design, because it helps me be able to distinguish between these first 2 layers and those to come. Now, while I'm here, I am going to just go ahead and add some light shading. This is my second layer. That first one that we still see from those first shapes that I created, that's our top layer, so that's going to be the lightest. So this one needs to be a little bit darker than just plain white, of course, but not too dark, because I don't want to get too dark too fast. So this is going to be a really, really light value, so I'm not pressing down very hard with my pencil. What you can see me doing though is I am pressing down a little bit harder near those lines of where they touch that top layer that I drew. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and add in my next layer, so you can see me creating those shapes and lines beneath, and this is where you can see it just starts getting a little bit tangled up. So once again, I'm going to go ahead and just draw some little lined pattern. Again, you do not have to do the patterns on it. I just thought it would be kind of a fun way to add an extra step, and also it helps distinguish between the layers. So again, I'm going to go ahead and add in a little bit of shading here. I think it is helpful just because it does feel very tangled the more layers that you add, but it's up to you. I'm going to go ahead, I think, and just try to add in a couple more layer, or one more layer at least here. So I'm just going to pause on that third layer, I believe it is, and kind of draw this in. All right, so something cut out there, but hopefully you can still kind of see what I've done. I went ahead and started filling in some of those empty spaces, the negative spaces that are left, with some black. And my hope there was simply just to be able to see a little bit more of the space that I'm creating. So now I'm going back in with my very last pattern here with some little polka dots, and I am drawing that in with ink, and then I will shade that last one before filling in the remainder of those negative spaces black. And I am using my ink pen for the black, but you could also just press down really hard with your graphite or charcoal or whatever you're using here. So you can see I'm shading that. Again, don't forget as you're doing the shading to press down a little bit harder so that it looks like, press down a little bit harder near the previous layers, the layers that are right above it, where they touch, so that it looks like they are all kind of hovering or something right above each other. So you can see now with me doing this last one here, I'm pressing down just a little bit harder for these areas. So then I now am going into those black spaces and I am just filling those in completely solid, which yes, is so much easier to do and faster to do digitally, of course. So be patient with yourself again. And you can also add another layer. You don't have to stop here. You can go in and add more layers, but for this, for just giving you a quick little demo, this is as many layers as I was gonna take it. And then the last thing that I'm going to do is add in one more pattern on this top one. So right now I just have it to be solid white, and so I'm going to add a little bit of a pattern and then also just a little bit of some shading. So not too much. I'm just going to go over it real quick here with really lightly. You can just barely see that actually with my pencil. So hope you have fun creating this design, and I hope you'll tune in next week with me.